Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs through the top 10 games of 2009! Woohoo! 2009! Why 2009 you ask? Well, it's kind of an oddball year to do a top 10 on, but 2009 was a really big year for me and Jen because it was the year that Jen and I first played Pandemic and thereby discovered the wide world of designer board games that we have now come to love so much. I mean, it literally, Pandemic kind of changed our lives, and we owe it all to some unnamed clerk in a friendly local board game store in Seattle called Blue Highway Games. In case you're watching out there, dude from Blue Highway Games in Seattle who talked to me in 2010 and talked me out of getting a copy of Travel Scrabble, which is what I'd come in for, and instead convinced me to get Pandemic. Thank you, sir. Anyway, so 2009, big year for us. Let's actually run through the top 10, shall we? Although actually, before we do that, I'm going to mention what do you call it? An honorable mention, I guess. Because honestly, Vasco de Gama really deserves to be in the top 10, I think. And if it were just me, yeah, this would I'm not quite sure where, but this would totally be in the top 10. But it didn't quite make it. I guess it's going to get kind of muscled out by the real, but I will say, great game. Incredibly strong Euro, amazingly clever systems that fuses traditional worker placement with push your luck. It basically does kind of the same thing that Kalis does with the, what's it called, the bailiff, or the provost, but basically, adds this notion of players being able not only to choose to place their works wherever they want like normal, but also choose the order that their works will activate. But if they push their luck, they might end up having to pay more. It's really cool game. Did not get anywhere near as much coverage as it should have. Great game. I should really do a run through sometime to spread the word. But anyway, so that's the honorable mention, Vasco de Gama. But now, on to the game that pushed it out, not because of me. I mean, I like this game quite a bit, but Jen loves it. This is easily one of her favorite games. What is it, you ask? Number 10, Tobago. And now Tobago is a fantastic game. It's basically players are adventurers on a tropical island searching for lost treasure. And I mean, this game has a lot of really cool systems in it. I mean, starting with the components, I mean, the board itself is really wonderful. It's made of these 3 pieces that are two-sided and snapped together with these jigsaw to basically create an incredibly huge number of boards you can imagine. Combining mountains and rivers and forests and lakes and plains and beaches and all kinds of stuff. So, just the board is great, but then what you put on the board is amazing too, because you get these, they're on the cover of the box, you get these awesome, I don't know what you call them, kind of these Easter Island tiki statues. I mean, I don't know what they're made of, but they kind of almost feel like they're made out of stone. They have heft and weight and really nice texture. And but it's not just that. You get these really cool wooden palm trees and little huts. But what's even cooler than all that, your meeple in this game is a 4x4 Jeep. You get to drive around, splash through the lakes and basically drive as fast as you can to be the first to find all the buried treasure that's on this island. But so that's just the components. The components are awesome, but that's nothing compared to the gameplay because I don't know of any other game that's done this kind of reverse deduction thing. What happens is you've got a handful of cards. Let me see if I can grab some. These clue cards that will tell you where the treasures are. And so I might, on my turn, play this clue and say, you know what? One of the treasures, and there's several treasures on the go at any given time. One of the treasures, treasure A, let's call it, is next to, next to some plains. It's not on plains or grassland, but it's next to. And so then you can look at the map and see all the spaces, all the hexes that match that, and you can start to figure out where it is. So I might play that. And then Jen might play, it's also in a forest. And so suddenly, boom, half of the options. It can't be in the mountains, it can't be on the beach, it must be in a forest, and a forest that's next to plains. And so that might narrow it down to there's only 6 or 7 places on the board it could be. But then I put down, let's see, there's another cool one, that it's within 2 spaces of one of the native huts. And now there's only 2 places on the board it could be. And I'm looking through my, through the cards I've played, trying to find one that'll be that thing that nails exactly where it is. And then, but Jen might be doing it too. And once it's been determined, we triangulate exactly the spot where it is, we get in our Jeeps and we drive like crazy, hopefully to be the first person there. Because then, You know, so that's all really cool, this reverse deduction thing where we're both collaboratively playing clues to figure out where these treasures are. And we try to do it in such a way that when the location is revealed, it happens to be close to our Jeep, so we're the ones who can pick it up. But everybody gets a taste, because if a treasure is found, even if I'm not the one who got there in the Jeep, if I contributed any clues to where it is, I get a portion of the treasure, and then that's where the treasure cards come in. Say that there were, there were a bunch of clues that went into this, and so that meant that there were, all my cards are messed up. There were 5 treasures. There's a big treasure. And so there's 5 of them in there, and and Jen contributed 2 clues, and I contributed 1 clue. So that means I'm going to get 1 shot at this. And say I'm the one who actually found the treasure. My Jeep got there, so I get first dibs. These get shuffled up, and then I reveal the first treasure, and it is 3, and I get to choose. Do I want to take this 3? Remember, I'm only going to get 1. And so all the other ones are going to go. And so I say, you know what? I don't want 3. I want something better. I'm going to hold out. And then it goes on, and somebody else can take it. And it's you hope for something better. And then the next one comes up to 5. Yes, please. I'll take the 5. That's really awesome. But but the danger is you might hold out, and then there's only a 2 or a 1 left, or even worse, there's a curse, and then nobody gets any treasure. So, I mean, everything about this game is really clever and unique. The deduction or the reverse deduction, the way treasure is handed out, just the components. Tobago's an amazing game. Really, really top-notch stuff. It's a great gateway game. You can play this with anybody, really. A lot of fun, very atmospheric. That was the number 10. Tobago, and I've made a big old mess over here. I'll have to clean that up later. Alrighty, anyway though, let's move on, shall we? To number 9. Now number 9 is a nice, simple, fast, fun, 2-player only card game called Jaipur. Really, really fun game. And in it, it's not really, it's a simple set collection game in its heart. There's a market of cards in front of you, and as merchants, we go down there and we can, buy all the various, things that are on display, and we're trying to collect sets of, matching type. We're trying to get a whole bunch of blankets, because if we do, we can trade them in for the points stuff, for the really, really good stuff. But the tricky thing is, when we see all these cards laid out in front of us, there's 3 ways we can take the goods. We can just take one single card. Remember, we're trying to go for set collection, so there might be several cards out there, but that I could use to try and get a set. But I just take 1, and if I take 1, it doesn't cost me anything. It's free. I can get 1 for free, and then the draw pile, just a new thing comes out to replace it. So that kind of, that's me buying something. Alternatively, I can be a trader, and I can say I want 4 of those things in the market, but to get those 4 things, I have to give up 4 of my own things. And so that becomes really, if I'm trying to, if there's a couple things out there and I really want them, but I've got 2 groups of cards in my hands, I'm going for set collection, do I sacrifice these cards to pick up those cards I want? That's always, and if I do that, do I put them in the market and then Jen could get them? Because as she's shown an interest, do I feed her, or do I hold on to them, or do I just try to take them one at a time and hope they'll still be there for me? And then the cool thing is, the market is also full of camels. And camels are, these guys want to get rid of their camels. Please take my camels, say everybody in the market. You can take as many camels as you want on your turn for free. So you might find yourself with a handful of tons of camels. But the nice thing about that is, when that happens, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the market I want. I'm just going to dump all these camels. I mean, so it's a really nice push and pull, very, very simple game, plays really quick, great for 2 players. We absolutely love it. Great travel game, great filler game. Jaipur, number 9. Okay, number 8. Let's see, getting back into the heavy stuff. Endeavor. Now, people who actually follow me might, say, Endeavor, really? Or I forget what it was called, Navis Magic. I forget what it was called outside of English. Some weird Magus Navister or something or other. But anyway, Endeavor. Officially, this is a 3 to 5 player game, and yet we love it, and we only play 2-player games. How could that be? Well, it turns out, after it shipped, the designer released an official variant that allows you to play this 2-player. And as soon as that, we got it because this game is gorgeous. Just look at this box. It's so beautifully designed, and we really, really wanted to get our hands on it. And when we took a chance, turns out that variant is awesome. This game plays fantastically, absolutely fantastically as a 2-player game. And what is the game itself? Well, it is an age of exploration, kind of like Vasco de Gama, exploration game where you are traveling all over the world, making trade routes, and picking up stuff. Now, I don't think I can really do justice to this board. In person, this board is really, really clever. You can see here's India up here, and here's North America, and so there's all these pieces, and all these things are full of little chits. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? That represent different things. All these little chits that get spread around. So they can be goods, they can be military, they can be money, they can be all kinds of stuff. And so basically it's a really simple game. You spend half your time basically can you even see them? Basically developing these trade routes and picking up the chits along the way that you can use for various and sundry things. That's pretty straightforward. The board play is really, really good because it's a race. Because when you get out to the actual place where you can set up colonies, there's a stack of tiles, and you want to be able to get as many of those and all that. That's pretty straightforward. Really plays smooth, really nice. But the reason we love it so much is because this game is also tech tree driven. You get this really nice board where, here's all the cards you're collecting, and all the different buildings you're building that will give you new abilities. And, as you're collecting these different resources, you can trade them in to buy better and better buildings that give you more power. And, you end up creating a very, very unique empire that specializes in certain things every time you play. So it's always fun to play in that regard. The race on the main board. There's a little bit of warfare. There's like cannons you can get, so you can do some minor damage to your opponents, but it's pretty minor. And for Genemy who don't really like a lot of gameplay, it works fine. And when I was saying about how you can really specialize and make your empire unique, one of the ways you can do that, and I guess you could say it's kind of controversial, is you can actually go into slavery. And I think that's actually one of the things that I admire about this game so much. This game does not turn a blind eye at all to the cold, hard reality of what life was like back here, and using slavery as a very effective tool to get ahead. But it's really clever the way it does, because it's your option. You don't have to get into the slave trade, but if you want to, it can be very, very lucrative. It can really give you a leg up. And, so maybe you will, maybe you won't. But over the course of the game, there will come a point where suddenly slavery is outlawed, rightfully so, historically, accurately so. And then suddenly, everybody who was a slaver basically gets hit hard. And so for you, as from a gameplay point of view, maybe you are morally opposed to it, and you can put yourself in the mindset of somebody who might be morally opposed to it, but it's such good business. It's just really, really kind of eye-opening, and I don't know if I'm necessarily doing it justice, but the way it handles the idea of slavery is very tasteful and very historically appropriate, and yet it's still also really, really solid gameplay, but the gameplay that's centered around it really makes you think, really makes you put yourself in the minds of businessmen back then and trying to make these tough decisions that have such strong, emotional implications. So anyway, Endeavor is an amazing game. I really respect the hell of it. And on top of all that, it's just a lot of fun to play. It really, really is. So definitely something to check out. And it plays great with two. That's Endeavor. All right, so that was number 10, 9, 8. So number 7. Oh, I have to get this back out again. It's so heavy. Claustrophobia. Now, I am not going to open the box up and show it because I already did that in my top 10 fantasy games. So if you'd like me to open the box and see all the incredibly cool pre-painted minis and the awesome tiles and the really, really clever gameplay, go watch my top 10 fantasy games where I talk about it and show you all the, and this game is really clever. It's a straight up dungeon crawl. One player is the dungeon master. The other player is, controlling several heroes. It comes with a lot of, scenarios that, create interesting layouts. The mechanics and the mechanisms for both the heroes and the dungeon master are completely unique. It's a completely asymmetric game, but it's really, really clever. We really enjoy it a lot. This is our go-to for dungeon crawling. We love it. Claustrophobia. All right, so moving on again. Top 10 fantasy games, you can watch that. On to number, is it 10, 9, 8, 7, number 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, yes. Carson City, yes. Now I've actually done a run through for this, so you can watch that if you like. But this is an awesome Old West worker placement game where we're in Carson City, where basically players are working, I'm not going to say semi-cooperatively, but we are working in tandem to actually build Carson City. The map starts out completely empty. Oopsie. Oh, I'm making such a big mess. I'm going to mix these games all up. The presentation of it's absolutely fantastic. It's so thematic. All the old styly fonts and all that. But the map is either completely empty, all desert, or it's got this river. We usually play on the river because it makes it a little bit tighter for 2 players. But the game at its heart is a worker placement game. Oh, this is so floppy to hold up. Where you are placing your workers, your cowboys, you have cowboy workers. Jen is laughing at me right there and how I'm just flopping around. I'm going to turn the camera on you if you don't. So you have all these spaces you can place your cowboy workers on. You know, they can go down to the, I can't quite see, they can go down to the saloon and roll some dice to gamble and make some money. They can, this is where all the buildings show up. So you can build, you can build a jail, you can build a hotel, you can build mines and ranches and all the kind of thematic stuff you would expect. You can work on building roads. And over time, this completely empty landscape starts to fill up. And by the end of the game, the thing I really love about this game more than anything else is it really does feel like we have built a town. I mean, and there's a history to the town. You know, I remember when that jail got built over there next to the church. I really needed it at that point. I was desperate to get one. And you know, Jen, who's like, you know, the mine baron, has mines in the mountains all around, and she's been making tons of money. Whereas, you know, I've been benefiting from that because, you know, I've got the, what is it, the general store, I think, that benefits from, you know, there's a lot of synergy between all these buildings. And now, and that's why we love it. We just like it straight up. It's a great worker placement game where we are communally building something that we can both be proud of and still try to score the most points and win. That's awesome. We love it when that happens. But now there's more to it as well. If you're interested in it, you'll notice there's a lot of guns in this game. That's because this is a worker placement game where if you want to, if you know in Agricola or most worker placement games, it's a race. If you both want that space, whoever gets there first gets the action. In this game, whoever gets there first, it's not a foregone conclusion. Another player can go on ahead and put their cowboy on the same space, and then your cowboy and my cowboy are going to have a duel, an Old West shootout. And whoever wins basically gets to do the action, and whoever loses gets a consolation prize. I mean, it's not a crushing defeat. It's really not that painful. It just means you get an extra action on the next year of the 4 years this game plays. So, you know, there's no bad feelings. If you don't get what you want, you got an extra action for next year, so you can do it then. Don't worry. But so a lot of people love it for that. I love Carson City because of that worker placement game where our workers can shoot each other. And that's very, very cool. But Jen and I, we mostly love it because of the sense of accomplishment of building Carson City. Okay, that was number 6. Moving on to number 5. This is another one of Jen's absolute favorites. Gates of Loyang. Now this is actually, you know, from Yuri Rosenberg, and for a lot of people this was actually kind of a disappointment because this got released after Agricola and Le Havre, and this became the 3rd of his Harvest trilogy of games, which has now become a quadrilogy because he released Ora et Labora. But anyway, I never really thought that was quite fair because he actually designed this first. This is what got released last of the 3, but it was the first one he actually designed. And it's a very, very cool game. Straight up multiplayer solitaire. Well, actually that's not true. That's not true. Basically, in a nutshell, open sesame, the game, everybody gets their own little garden, this little tea thing. And you know, this is our point track, and we're all basically trying to earn money at the Gates of Loyang, where there's a market at the Gates of Loyang, where we are, you know, trying to buy and sell vegetables. We have all these little, oh, where are they? Oh, there's so many cards. I'd have to get all the cards out. But basically, we have these little plots of land where we can grow vegetables. Very, very similar kind of to Agricola. You know, and then once we've grown our vegetables, we can take them off turn after turn after turn after we've gotten our big harvest. And we can take those, and customers come to our stores. They appear in this space or this space. So we have space for regular customers and short-term customers. The regular customers put in orders that they want filled every turn over and over and over again. So if you can get yourself set up where you've got a lot of radishes and a lot of grain, that you can definitely take care of the long-term customer every turn, and it's a nice, slow, steady range of income. But that can be tough to get set up. Alternatively, there's the short-term customers who just come in and look, I'll give you a lot of money if you give me this right now. So you have two different things you can pursue trying to make money by selling to these customers. And in the meantime, there's a whole bunch of these helpers you can hire. There's this very, very cool card draft that happens at the beginning of every round where players can basically get a bunch of helpers and other stuff. And there's a lot of tension to it. I won't describe it now, but it's a really, really cool card draft. And these helpers let you break the rules, let you get extra harvest, you know, manipulate stuff. And for some people, what some people really like is a lot of the helpers are really mean. They can let you steal vegetables vegetables from each other or steal customers or all kinds of stuff. Jen and I, we love this game because it plays fantastically if you take all the mean helpers out. That's what we do. We just remove them from the game, and then it's an awesome game that is all about economic optimization, trying to squeeze the most you can out of these vegetables you grow to make the most points to win the game. Great, great game, very thematic. I've done a run through for this as well if you'd like to learn more. That's Gates of Loyang. Okay, moving on. Number 4. Another little game, but a wonderful, wonderful one. Is everything in here? Oh, there we go. Yep, it is, Alea Iacta Est, which is Latin for, what is it? The die is cast. You know, the very, very famous phrase from Julius Caesar when he crossed the Rubicon and declared his intention to take Rome, and he said, Alea Iacta Est, the die is cast. And it's a perfect name for this game because this game is all about the dice. Look at all the colorful dice. This is a very, very cool, fun dice worker placement game in the, kind of like Alien Frontiers or Dark Horses or Kingsburg. This is Kingsburg and Alien Frontiers' little brother that a lot of people don't know about because it's that same kind of thing. You're trying to roll to get different combinations of dice to do different things, to be able to go to the forum because you need certain combinations of dice, or to be able to go to the temple where you need certain combination of dice. An example of the temple. Any die can come here. So Jen might put us any dice she wants when she rolls her dice and she's trying to figure out how to spend them to all the different buildings you can go to get different benefits. The first person who goes here puts 1, and then the second person has to put 2, and then the third person. So it gets much more expensive. So you want to get in here first to get the benefit of the temple, or to the castrum where you need three of a kinds, or the Senate you need to basically get straights. So the gameplay is very simple. It's really a set collection game. You're basically rolling your dice to use all these different buildings, and there's more or less buildings depending on how many players there are that you can go to. So it tightens up really nicely so that you can fill all the provinces of Rome with all these rich nobles that are basically in your back pocket and score points. So it's got a lot going on. You're trying to go for the set collection, you're trying to roll the right dice and get into the buildings first. There's also, where are they? These special Roman laws that if you get these can change the rules for you and give you certain powers and certain end goals that you're trying to shoot for and all that. There's a lot going on in a really little box. Alea Iacta Est, we absolutely love it. Fantastic. One of our absolute favorite dice games. I should really do a top 10 dice games. This would be on there if I did. But anyway, great, great game. Love it a lot. From one of my favorite designers, Bernd Eisenstein and Jeffrey Allers, who he works with several times. Great game, good job, guys. We absolutely love. One of our favorites of 2009, Alea Iacta Est. All right, down to the final wire. Number 3, Macao. Can't be a top 10 game or list without some Stefan Feld in there, can it? Of course not. Macao is actually one of, I think, the best Stefan Feld games out there. And who's Stefan Feld, you ask? Well, he's probably one of the most prolific modern board game designers. And he has a very specific style to his games where, every time he makes a new game, it always has some really clever, innovative mechanism that's unlike anything else out there that becomes like the center of this game. And then there's a million things you can do with that because he always fills his big heavy games like Macao with tons of different little things you can be pursuing. There's always like 10 different paths you can be pursuing. And the trick to winning this game is picking and choosing. You want to do everything, but there's only 2 or 3 things you can do really well, so choosing which ones you want. Now in this game, the cool central mechanism, the game itself is another, actually that's 3 now that I mentioned. Vasco de Gama, Endeavor, and Macao, that are all about the era of exploration, setting up trade routes between the far eastern city of Macao with all its exotic spices and Antwerp and Amsterdam, and you're basically sending all this stuff back to London. You're setting up your trade empire by building buildings which will give you access to different types of goods, and then you have a little ship and you're shipping all those goods back to the old world. So that's all really, really cool. Nice and simple, straightforward. But what really makes this game interesting is this. This is a compass rose, I think it's called. You'll notice on every one of these spokes, there's a die. Every turn, what's going to happen is a bunch of these colorful dice get rolled. And the dice represent different things. They represent time and money and goods and labor and legal and bribery. They represent all these things kind of abstractly. And what happens is, say on a turn, You know, what did we roll? I got a couple dice. Happened to roll, come on, give me something. Oh, come on. Double sixes twice in a row, that's crazy. Alrighty, so I got a purple 3 and a green 4, and along with all the other colors too. And what I'm doing is, there are all these contracts I can take. Like this contract here, to build an office. To do it, I need 3 blue cubes and a gray. I remember gray is administration. I think blue is politics. I forget what. It doesn't really matter. Just blue cubes and gray cubes. So to build this office, I'm going to need 3 blue cubes and a gray cube. I have this in my hand. I want to build it because, you know, it'll give me some benefit over the course of the game. And let's see. Actually, for this example, I should have actually had a blue and a gray dice, shouldn't I? Yes, I should. So I roll, and on this turn, hey, a blue 1 and a gray 5 came up. And so if I want to, I can take those die. I can choose that die. And if I choose the gray 5, what that means is 5 turns from now, 5 months in the future, I'm lining up a deal with gray to give me 5 gray cubes. Basically, in 5 turns, I will get 5 gray cubes. But the interesting thing is, I only need 1 gray cube to build this thing. What I really want is a bunch of blue cubes. And let's actually say that, you know, the blue came up with a 3. And that means in 3 turns that there will be, if I take the blue, in 3 turns, I will get 3 blue cubes. So that means in 3 turns, if I'm smart, I'll have the blue I need, and all I need to worry about sometime between now and then is getting a gray as well. It's a very, very cool and clever system. It plays so simple. You just roll the dice and you figure, okay, well, do I want some short-term stuff right now? I need some stuff today. Okay, I'll take that red 1. Or do you do long-term planning, or that blue 2, and I'll get those two next turn? Or do you go for the long-term planning? 6 turns from now, I'll be able to use those 6 purple because look at these cards I've got, or what have you. And it replicates you as a smart businessman making those tough choices of deals and contracts with basically contractors. That's what these cubes represent. They represent contractors. Do you basically pay a lot to get a short-term fast deal? You need them today? Okay, they'll be here today. You take a 1. Or do you, for the same amount of money, do you get them 6 months from now because you were early to book? It's a really, really smart, clever system, and it makes for this really strong tension between short-term planning of what I've got in my hand and I need to do right now, and long-term strategic planning of these cards I've got. How will I be able to build them before the game is over? Because the game has a very strict timeline. Anyway, that is Macao. It's an amazing game, absolutely fantastic, always very exciting, a lot of fun to play, and we love it a lot. I've done a run-through for it too, if you'd like to watch that and learn a little bit more about our number 3, Macao. Number 2, we're almost done. Honey, almost be ready for dinner. The Shipyard, or Die Werft in German. This is an amazing, heavy, heavy economic simulation. I don't think I'm going to open the box because basically it's, well, okay, you can kind of see what's going on here. This game is the rondel game to end all rondels. This game has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 5? Is that all? Yeah, 5 different rondels where your marker is moving around independently on all 3 of these things. And over here, this is the rondel where you can be hiring employees who give you special abilities. Over here, this is the rondel where you could be buying or selling your commodities like steel and whatnot to make money, or trade them in for ship pieces. Because what we're doing in this game is we're running a shipyard and we're trying to build these epic, awesome ships. And so you're getting all the ship pieces over here. Meanwhile, over here, you're getting pieces as well. And there's 2 different ones. One for, these are kind of like your construction people. These are the people who actually run the ship. Your captains, your officers and whatnot. And like, the big piece, like, smokestacks and masts and all that. So it's a game of musical chairs where you're trying to keep track of your marker here and here and here and here and here, and trying to move along. This is a mechanism very, very similar to Thebes, where if you are the last person on this track, you're the person who gets to go next, and you move forward and you try to grab whatever action you want to do, whether it's build or collect or or whatever. And meanwhile, while all that stuff's going on, there's also, and while you're doing everything else, where you're trying to build these big ships, you're also trying to develop a canal, which you're having to collect all these canal pieces. that you can do a test run, because once your ship is built, you have to do a test run. And if you built your ship smart, okay, I'm gonna actually pull the game out and get a couple of pieces out. This game is just full of stuff. It's got a billion, and it's like Le Havre, it's got 1.5 billion pieces, so you gotta, I went into a dollar store and got all these little containers to hold all the pieces. But what's happening is, over the course of the game, this is my workspace. And all these spaces down here are where I can put ship pieces. Let's find some ship pieces. All right, here's a few. So, and I'm buying ship pieces. Where's the back of the box? Oh, I'm gonna have to make a big mess now. Oh, have to clean up later. All these ship pieces are constantly coming in on the market. So, at this point, I could buy a ship piece, at the lowest space, the cheapest, that has here's a bow that has a smokestack, a mid that has a smokestack, a stern that has a smokestack, and a propeller waiting for a propeller. So I'm trying to buy all these different pieces to build an interesting ship. I can build a really short ship that's only 3 pieces long, or a really epic ship that's gigantic, that's 7 pieces long. And I can fill these ships with crew, I can make them sail ships, or I can make them steam ships. I can give them engines. I can really customize these ships, and over time, I'm trying, and I've got this specific space I have to build them and put them in, and when they're ready to be made, and they're crewed and all that stuff, and I've been having to deal with all of these rondelles to try and balance everything I need to do to build all that stuff, I then send it on a shakedown cruise. And it's judged, because when I was building the canals, here's a canal piece, I might have grabbed this canal, as my ship is going on its shakedown cruise, when it passes this space, I'll get bonus points if I've got a lot of lanterns. That's a picture of a lantern on the ship. When I cross this space, I'll get bonus points if I've built a ship with a lot of safety measures, because the guy who really cares about safety will judge my ship and will give me bonus points for it. So this game is amazing because you're just trying to track so much stuff. It is a mindful, to say the least, but we really enjoy it, mostly because at the end of the game, when we're done and we can see this fleet of awesome, beautiful ships we've built, and that have scored really, really highly and earned awards and trophies and all kinds of stuff, it's a really great sense of accomplishment. We take a sense of pride almost in having worked our shipyard. So that was number 2. And finally, the number 1, Peloponnes. Awesome, awesome auction game. A lot of people say auction games are terrible with 2 players. They never work well. That's crap. Peloponnes proves that wrong. Peloponnes is an awesome, awesome auction game that plays well with every player count, from 2 all the way up to 5. I think it goes to 6. There's a little mini expansion that lets it go even higher. Now, the game itself is a really simple, straightforward. It's an ancient civilization building game. Now, let's just get the pieces out. Okay, this is my board, where I've got little markers that track my the wood I'm earning over time, the stone I'm earning, the food I'm earning. As my population grows, I can tax them, so I earn more money. When my population grows high enough, I start earning luxury goods. Luxury goods are wild cards that I can use for other stuff. And basically so this is a really nice system to keep track of your ancient civilization. And every turn, what happens is, oh dear, several tiles come out. Let's say these ones came out, totally random. Several tiles come out and they come up for auction. Oop, there we go. These 3 tiles, in a 2-player game, 3 tiles come out. And actually I should say 2 more tiles come out, so 5 tiles come out in total. These 3 are up for auction, and there's several things on the tile. This tile, which generates food for me, as you can tell, it generates, well, it actually generates 2 wood. If I get this tile for the rest of the game, every turn, this thing will generate me 1 food and 2 wood. I need the food to get my population up. I need the wood to build other things, like say, this market, which requires 3 wood to build. So previously, I might have actually gotten this forest, which generates wood, or this one, which generates wood and food. So as you're going to auction, you're trying to bear in mind your long-term goals are to get the things you need in the short term so you can build other things in the long term to score points at the end of the game. And so it's a really, really simple, straightforward thing, but here's why the auction works so well. If I really desperately want this forest, so I'm going to put a bid on it. This number means I have to bid at least 2. A minimum of 2 has to be bid on this. That's fine. And so say I go on ahead and bid 2. And then somebody else bids 3. And like, oh no. And you think, oh, I'll just up the bid, standard auction style. No. In this game, you only get to place 1 bid. So if I want this, and I know somebody else wants this, because I can see what everybody wants, what everybody needs. It's all open information in this game. And so I have to make a tough choice. Because really, if I want this bad and I think somebody else wants it, maybe I should bid 3. Maybe I should bid 4. Could I afford 5? Am I desperate enough to bid 5 for this thing? It's worth 2 points. It'll increase my population by 2, and it means my wood needs will be filled for the rest of the game. But how much do I bid for it? So I take a chance and I say, okay, I'll bid 4. And I think, okay, that's it. I've got this thing. I get very, very tense when I'm just, because I only get one shot. That's what makes this auction great. I only get one shot. I bid 4. Turns out somebody wanted more. They bid 5. And boom, I've lost it. Now, this is not, oh, no problem, you'll just win the next auction. It's not like that. What happens is I get kicked off of this, and then I get a consolation prize. For getting kicked off, I can either take some money as a consolation prize, I'll get more money to bid in the next year, or, remember I bid 4 on that? I could now move my piece, my bid marker off of this onto one of the other tiles that are up for auction if my bid was higher. So since the other 2 things that were up for auction were 3 and 2, I bid 4 for this because, well, first of all, I thought it was going to guarantee and nobody would, kick me out of it. But because I bid 4, that means that when I get kicked out, I could take this thing now, or I could take this thing. And say somebody else had bid 3 on this, I bid 4. When I get kicked off of this, I move my 4 bid over here, and now this person gets kicked off, and now they could move on to the 2 bid. And so you get these really interesting chain reactions of bids because you only get one shot, one bid for the whole auction. So you're not just thinking about how much should I bid for this thing I really want? But if I don't get it, how will my bid work? What will my secondary, what will my fallback be? And that's, between that and just some really, there's one other thing that's really cool. It's a civilization building game, and over the course of the game, you're trying to get a bigger civilization, but there are all these disasters, like this one represents droughts, and there's earthquakes, and all kinds of stuff. They're basically all these discs. What happens at the end of every decade or year or turn or whatever, you flip some of these over. And so you start to, so you might early on flip 2 of the 3 earthquake tiles, and then suddenly you're scared, oh my gosh, is an earthquake going to happen tomorrow? But it might not. An earthquake might not happen until the end of the game. So there's this whole push your luck thing because an earthquake could destroy your buildings if they're not fully built. So do you take a chance and only half build them when an earthquake is about to happen, or do you risk it? So there is so much tension, so much excitement in such a simple system. You could teach anybody this game really quick. In Peloponnes, that's why it's our #1 game of 2009. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to get on a plane tomorrow. We're going to go to Cardboard and Sun. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Hopefully you'll be seeing some videos from that pretty soon. In the meantime, I just wanted to do something before we get on the plane tomorrow morning to give you guys, because I don't know when I'm next going to be able to film because of the travel. But anyway, that's our top 10 of 2009. Coming in the future will be 2010, 2011, 2012, and eventually someday 2013. But in the meantime, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm crazy about some of these choices. But we absolutely love these games. Highly recommend them all. Hopefully you have an idea of why we like them, and because that's what I was doing here, running through the top 10 of 2009. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.